Welcome to the RNL Revolution Nothing Less show. This is episode number 61 on July 15th, 2021. My name is Andy Zee. I'm the host of the show, coming to you from Los Angeles, California. Befitting the name of our show, Revolution Nothing Less, we begin today announcing the publication 2 nights ago on revcom.us, the website with whom we produce our show, a new piece titled From Bob Avakian, Revolutionary Leader, Author of the New Communism. This is a rare time when revolution becomes possible. Why that is so, and how to seize on this rare opportunity. This new, substantive, and provocative article from Bob Avakian digs deep into some of the questions that are posed in a declaration, a call to get organized now for a real revolution. We've featured a declaration, a call to get organized now, on the RNL show since its publication, April 7th, also on revcom.us. The declaration states a hard but basic truth, quote, "For the masses of people and ultimately for humanity as a whole, there is no future or no future worth living under this system." Bob Avakian's new article, "This is a rare time when revolution becomes possible," bluntly makes the case that, quote, "This is the reality and no one can escape this reality. Either we radically change it in a positive way or everything will be changed in a very negative way," end quote. The declaration, a call, is a stunning document that analyzes that we have entered a rare time and circumstance when a real revolution could be possible if everyone who is sick and tired of how this system we live under, capitalism, imperialism, destroys lives, crushes spirits, and through its destruction of the global environment could potentially make the earth uninhabitable for humanity. If everyone who feels this way, if everyone who sees this goes to work now, we could realize the potential that exists in this moment in history. The declaration is an urgent call to all who aspire to a way out of the madness of today, to get into what it says, why a revolution is necessary, what a revolution actually is, and what its aim and goal must be. And it is a guide to how we get started right now to organize, to prepare, and to work for the possibility to overthrow this system and get on the road to emancipate all humanity. The new piece from Bob Avakian, "A Rare Time When Revolution Becomes Possible, Why That Is So, and How to Seize on This Rare Opportunity," penetrates deep into the nature and the workings of this system, to reveal why and how we have entered this moment of potential that for decades we could only work towards, but which now really could be. And I have to say, having just done a few initial reads, that today I want to do little more than urge each of you to seize the time now to read this piece and to take the time to read it again and then discuss it. We'll be getting into this piece from Bob Avakian along with the declaration, a call, over the whole next period. Even as I have just taken a first dive into A Rare Time When Revolution Becomes Possible by Bob Avakian, I feel confident to say that this is a masterwork of synthesis that, like a machete, carves right through all the complexity of what humanity faces. And like a laser, it cuts to the heart of and illuminates the opening for revolution that exists now, an opening that will not last forever. An opening that we can and must seize if there is to be a future for humanity. On the basis of what really could be a revolution to get this system off the back of humanity before it destroys all of us, Bob Avakian, BA, the revolutionary leader, poses a sharp challenge to everyone to stop with all the excuses, all the petty reasons, and the absolute bullshit that this system gets people caught up in, and to cast all of this off and start working together for the real revolution to emancipate all of humanity. So, as I said, over the next weeks and months, we'll be digging into this here on the RNL Revolution Nothing Less show. The Revolution Clubs will be holding mass meetings to dig into this article, as well as a declaration and call. And on August 4th, I will be speaking at Revolution Books in New York City on this topic, and we'll broadcast some of that talk on the RNL show on the next night, August 5th. So for now, go online after the show and get reading. There's 3 segments on today's show still to come. The first on the oppression of women. We begin with a segment of a film from Bob Avakian, a segment called A World of Rape and Sexual Assault. This will be followed by a key aspect of the oppression of women, an interview Sunsara Taylor did, my co-host. She did this with Derenda Hancock from an abortion clinic in Jackson, Mississippi. And then we also have a segment, a very important segment on fundraising for the Revolution Tour. I spoke earlier of the declaration and call. We have focused here in Los Angeles to organize the forces now for an actual revolution, and that must be supported. It's a great way, an important way, a critical way for people, for all of you to take part and to contribute to the movement for an actual revolution. And first up, we're going to have a segment that Sunsara will introduce, but it's about a comrade who passed away a number of years ago, whose life is an inspiration for all of those from the bottom of society to get into this revolution, and how, even in very difficult circumstances, you can contribute to this revolution. So let's go to that right now.
Our website, revcom.us, recently republished 2 tributes to a beautiful comrade who passed away in 2005. Willie Mobile Shaw grew up and spent his whole life in the Nickerson Gardens housing projects in Watts, Los Angeles. After getting to know the revolutionaries there and working with them for a period of time, Mobile became a revolutionary. He became a follower of Bob Avakian, and he dedicated his life to the communist revolution aimed at emancipating all of humanity. Now, there's profound reasons we're republishing this now, profound lessons to draw from Mobile's life, especially in this time. One of the statements on the website is a statement from Bob Avakian on the occasion of Willie Mobile Shaw's death, and we urge you to go read it. The other statement is from Joe Veale. It's the memorial that he delivered at Mobile's memorial service in Watts. Now, regular viewers will know Joe Veale. He is a former member of the Black Panther Party and a current revcom and follower of BA. And we had the occasion to bring him into our studio and do 2 things. One, he did a beautiful reading of that memorial, so you can watch it at revcom.us in full. And he also talked with us about why it's so important for people to learn from Mobile's life and example today. So we're going to share excerpts of that reading with you. You can see the whole reading at revcom.us, but we're going to share a couple excerpts so you get a sense of who Mobile was in some of his own words. And then we're going to play for you some of what Joe had to say about what lessons we should draw from this today. Let's watch.
Who's going to step up and fill Mobile's shoes? I'll be reading a tribute that I gave to Willie Mobile Shaw at a Watts Memorial back in December the 18th, 2005. The death of Comrade Mobile is a great loss for the international proletariat and for our party. He was full of enthusiasm for revolution and communism, and he was a proud follower of Bob Avakian, the leader of the revolution and chairman of the Revolutionary Communist Party. He was truly an inspiration to all of us, and words cannot describe how much we will miss him. When he joined the party, he was already very ill and facing death. But the possibilities for a whole new world were opened up for him. He learned of the great revolutionary potential that the people in the ghettos and barrios in this country and around the world possess. He learned that they are part of the international proletariat, that they have the potential to become emancipators of humanity. And he went all out to lead them in acting on this reality. This was his dream. This is what his life was dedicated to. He said he did not want to end up broken, living without hope. He said he wanted his life to count for something, to bring about a change for the people. He was an internationalist. He would get up in front of a group of Latinos and say to them, "I'm the same as you. We speak different languages, We have different cultures, but we are the same class of people. It was my blood the police spilled when they killed that 18-month-old baby, Susie Pena. When he discovered the leadership of Bob Avakian, a BA, his approach to revolution, his vision for a whole new society, Mobile went all out to tell everybody about it. He wanted others to see what he saw, that with this leader, we can really bring about a whole new society and world. He was like a kid who had just discovered a great big candy store, and he wanted everybody to get some of it. As some of y'all know, sometimes Mobile would go nose to nose with you over this stuff. Not out of anger, but because he had great love for you, and he wanted you to see we have a great leader that can lead us to win. He was patient, though. He would give you a break for a day or two, then he would be right back at it again. And after watching the DVD, Revolution, Why It Is Necessary, Why It Is Possible, What's It All About by Bob Avakian, Mobile would say, man, this is my education. I think people are going to start thinking I went to school or something. I'll be learning so much stuff, different words, history. The more I listen to Bob Avakian, the more I'm learning. People watch the tape one time and they say, I listened to it already. No, you can't listen to it one time. You got to listen to it over and over. Every time, I bet you think of something new you didn't think about before. And he would open his front door and turn the volume all the way up so that everybody could hear it. He played it for the gangsters, for the homeless, for the smokers, for regular working people, church-going people, Latinos, everybody. To him, Bob Avakian is one of a kind. No other leader talks the real like he does. And from him, Mobile learned what the new society would be like. And Mobile would break it down like this. This system makes people do what they want them to do. In the new society, you might only work for 4 hours, and then you do art, science, crafts, whatever. The masses out here think they are in control of the drugs. But the system puts the drugs out here to keep us from thinking and acting in a revolutionary way. People look at the new society like that is unbelievable. But we have the right person to lead us there. There's enough people around the world that if they got a hold of the chairman and took him up, it would be a cold revolution. People need to know that they have a leader like Bob Avakian on their side, and they need to stand up for him.
So those are just a couple of the excerpts of Joe Veale's memorial to Willie Mobile Shaw, and you can watch the whole thing read at revcom.us. But we also had the opportunity, like I said, to have Joe in the studio, and I asked him if he could talk about what is so important about remembering Mobile today. Here's some of what he had to say.
And there's a lot for us to learn from for how Mobile took out this, what we need in order to be able to make this revolution. And what he took, when people would say, oh, we don't have a leader, we do have a leader. It's Bob Avakian. This is who people need to get with and stuff. This is what Mobile would find the ways, like I said, to do that. You know, even when he was in a wheelchair, he would find the ways to do that. Whenever, nothing, like I said, he wouldn't allow anything to restrict him and his ability, to be able to take the people like what they need and to bring them into the revolution so they could, do what needs to be done, become a part of doing what needs to be done, no matter what your situation is, because we all have different things going on with us. Everybody has that, some people is on parole, whatever and stuff, some people, they got, they got children, they need child care, whatever, like this here and stuff, some people they working, maybe they working 12, whatever, hours a day or something like that. Well, Mobile was dealing with those kind of his own situation. They had real constrictions on him. that constricted him, but he didn't allow that to constrict and restrain him from like taking what to people what they needed, which is again revolution, which is again Bob Avakian and his leadership. He found the ways like to do that. And it's really important that people like take that up like today, but exactly because the situation that we're living in like today. So we need more mobiles. That's why I wrote like what I wrote in his tribute back then. Who's going to step up to fill those shoes? And that we need millions and millions more to be like Mobile. That's even more true today than it was back then, exactly because the situation has changed. It's a different situation, and we really could have it could open up that potential, and we can't afford to miss it. And not missing it means acting. It means acting, it means modeling what Mobile Shaw did, and everybody can do that, and become like him. And in doing that, Mobile changed. Mobile grew up one way. He grew up in the projects. He went to the pen. He did all this, the drug game, a little bit dabbling in that, a little bit here and there. He did all of like that there. But Mobile changed. Once he started becoming part of the revolution, then you will see, as I said, he became like an international. His identity no longer was that. His identity was the masses of humanity. His identity was people there in the Philippines and Nepal. His identity was the Latino people who are in a similar situation as black people. His identity was the oppressed and exploited people of the world and what they need in order to get free, the leadership that they need. That's who Mobile came in the course of, fighting against this system and taking up that revolutionary leadership and approach to fighting it. And becoming a follower of Bob Avakian, B.A., by becoming a follower of B.A., Mobile himself, he changed and transformed, and he helped others change and transform in the course of that. And he inspired us all to want to change and transform more so we can contribute more to what needs to be done. And that is to overthrow this fucking system and shit, So there's a lot, there's a lot to learn, and there's, and this is all the reasons why the repost or the reprint, this article and these tributes from BA as well as myself to Mobile today at this time, because it's so timely, it's so needed now. What Mobile did, you need thousands doing that. Just think about it. You should just think about it for yourself. Thousands doing what Mobile did. What that would mean today in this society and in the world today. Especially people from the bottom who they say can't do nothing. People that's from the bottom in these ghettos and these barrios and these projects who the systems can't who the system says can't do nothing or not worth any thing. But it could be worth a lot. Life counts for a lot. It count for everything. It can count for humanity. That's what Mobile became. He became a representative of the emancipation of humanity. So people can change. He changed, and he changed, and he became a leader in this revolution for this, for this kind of world and stuff. So, yeah.
Well, listen, Joe, I want to, first of all, there's a powerful tribute, and there are a lot of lessons there. And I want to encourage people to go to the website and read the tribute from Joe, read the statement from Bob Avakian about Willie Mobile Shaw's life, and learn the lessons. Also, we're going to post on our website, revcom.us, a reading that we just had you do of your tribute, so people can watch it too or listen to it if that's easier for them. But I want to thank you for coming in, for sharing that.
Oh, man, it's my pleasure. I'm happy to be here. Overjoyed, really.
Well, we are too. The world urgently needs a revolution and nothing less. And this is all the more urgent right now in this rare time when revolution could actually be possible. So it matters tremendously that there are forces organizing now for this revolution. in particular the national tour to get organized for an actual revolution, which the RNL Revolution Nothing Less show is part of. But all of this is only possible and can only have the impact needed if it is funded. So today I'm very happy to have here in studio with us Andy Zee and Michelle Xai, who are both members of the National Get Organized for an Actual Revolution tour, to talk about a major push to raise funds as part of making fundraising a more integral part of this movement going forward. Welcome. Glad to have you both here.
Glad to be on the show.
Thank you. Annie, I want to start with you. You're going to be the host of this fundraising live stream this Sunday at 3 o'clock Pacific time, 6 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Central, to raise funds for the National Revolution Tour. Can you talk about what the tour is doing and why this is so important?
We're aiming to raise $25,000 in the fundraising 10 days, July 12th to July 21st. And the centerpiece of it is the live stream this Sunday that you mentioned, which people should tune into. And we're raising the funds for the national tour to get organized for an actual revolution, like you said, which is just the bare minimum of what's required for this revolution to spread and to grow. The declaration and the call to get organized for a revolution, which is what the National Revolution Tour is applying and wielding and wrestling with and taking out throughout society. It makes the point that this revolution is not just a good idea, it's actually possible. And that's really true, but that's going to require a force to fight for this revolution, to go organize a whole lot of other people into this revolution, to have this revolution be impacting people throughout society. Look, people don't know that all of the things that they hate are coming from a system of capitalism, imperialism. So there's got to be a force that's out there that's contending, that's explaining, breaking down for people all the ways in which the problem is this system and the solution is an actual revolution. People don't know that we have the leadership for that revolution in Bob Avakian, in the work that he's doing and the ways he's leading today, and the fact that he's written a constitution for a new socialist republic, a whole different way to organize society. And that to bring that into being, it's going to require an actual overthrow of this system. And the tour is focused on that. We are organizing for revolution. We're spreading this revolution. There's a core of volunteers that are here in Los Angeles that are able to dedicate themselves full time to this, to be able to spread this revolution, to take it out throughout all of society, the neighborhoods of the oppressed, the cultural scenes, the punk scenes, the skate parks. But to do any of that, it requires funds. It requires funds for the volunteers to be able to eat, to be able to dedicate ourselves to this, to be able to be housed, for the beautiful studio of the RNL Revolution Nothing Less show, the sound equipment. We've spent $10,000 since May 1st alone just in printing materials to be able to have these declarations to give people, to spread to people, to put posters up on the walls that's waging ideological struggle with people, to come together in all kinds of ways. This requires funds for there to actually be a force out here that is in Los Angeles and leading and anchoring a whole national movement for an actual revolution in a time when revolution could actually be possible.
Michelle, I think actually we've featured you and others with the Revolution Tour on this show quite a bit. In particular, a few episodes ago, we featured the June 12th march through South Central Los Angeles, and there were marches in other cities as well, in New York and Chicago, as part of this movement for a revolution. I wonder if you could give a sense of the impact the revolution is having. I know a lot of people, especially among the most oppressed, really feel a lack of hope, absolutely suffocating under the sense that nothing else is possible. And yet the revolution is challenging that. I wonder if you could share some of that with our viewers.
Yeah, just this thing of, you go out and spreading this revolution, you go out, with teams to different parts of Los Angeles and knocking on doors and, handing people this declaration and call, right? And you do, you do get a sense of how much people are suffocated with this lack of hope, and actually the real potential that there exists for this to actually be transformed, by people engaging this revolutionary leader, Bob Avakian, by people seeing each other and working together on the problems of the revolution, and, the excitement that, some of what was shown on, as you said, on from June 12th, of people seeing, this person on this truck, came and knocked on my door, and just something, that I'll share from one experience, or some experience actually that I've had, is knocking on somebody's door and saying, hey, it's you, seeing me on the stage, seeing people, wearing this T-shirt, not going through this neighborhood, and seeing that there's something here, and people might not understand all of what it is, but when they actually do recognize this is about changing something, and also breaking through this idea that this is permanent, this idea that there's nothing that people can do about the ways in which so many people are suffering, the ways in which people all over the world, don't have water or food or homes, the ways in which, people are agonizing over the fact that there was a fire in the ocean, that this actually is something that we can go to work on changing. We need a revolution. And this is what we're bringing to people, and the leadership that can actually lead us through in making this revolution, that you can see the potential. You can see, these people that have been told their whole lives that all they deserve is a bullet in their brain and a boot up their ass, that they can actually take this up together with others, together with other people, going to work on this revolution, spreading this revolution, getting more deeper and understanding this themselves, and fundraising, is one of these things that people can take up very quickly, when they actually do see, some people have said this to us. We see you guys go through here every day, and they come out with ham sandwiches, and say, here, you come to my door, and we talk about this revolution. You must be hungry, They recognize that this actually needs support, and this is one of these things that people can take this up, even if they don't understand all of what it means, even if they're just encountering this, if there's something that is speaking to them about this revolution, that they can go and take this out very quickly to people that they know and ask for funds, that they can, have these, what we're calling these revolutionary change jars, these little jars that can be put in their living room, and that people, that they themselves, but also everybody that comes into their homes, can empty their pockets with their change and have this declaration, next to that people can see what it is that they're raising money for. These are very basic, but also very significant ways that people can actually step into this revolution that is actually a part of breaking through this lack of hope. When people do begin to see themselves, when people do begin to see each other, not just from South Central Los Angeles, but, from other people just like them in the Bronx, other people just like them in Chicago, other people, in other neighborhoods, other people not just like them in these hospitals, in these, offices, full of lawyers and attorneys, this is the different strata that actually people are being brought together around this revolution.
I think that's really important. I wanted to say, the June 12th, I think I neglected to say, the June 12th marches were to show the world that we are getting organized now for revolution, nothing less. And that is what you're describing. That brought a tremendous amount of hope to people who saw it. And more people need to see that. And we also need to follow through on that. That's a very precious thing when people lift their heads and begin to hope and begin to turn their heads toward the revolution and step into it. And the funds are needed for that. I want to ask you, Annie, I think the need for funds to fuel a show like this, the organizing like this, that is very crucial. I think it's also a little easier for people to recognize when they start to think about it. There's another dimension of fundraising for this revolution, which is actually, Michelle was beginning to talk about it. It's a way of people getting organized themselves. It's a form of organization. I wonder if you could speak a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think it is really important to understand and just to take off from what Michelle was starting to talk about. When you give money and when you're part of raising funds, that is part of spreading this revolution. One of the problems of the revolution that the Declaration speaks to is it says there's not enough people who know about this revolution and are with it. The process of raising funds, of giving funds and raising funds, is part of bridging that. It's part of transforming that and dealing with that, where you actually are, like we want to have the debate. We want people to ask us questions. And when you ask for funds, you're asking someone to make a sacrifice. And that actually surfaces some of the questions that we want to join and struggle out. What's worth giving to? What's worth putting your resources to? How are you going to build up the organized forces for this revolution? So I think that is a really important thing for people to understand. And one of the things we're going to get into on the live stream is being able to actually hear from people about why they're contributing. And it's one of the things I find very inspiring. And you can go to revcom.us and read some of these statements from people. There's a letter from people who've lost their loved ones to murder by police, and they talk about why people should contribute to this National Revolution Tour. There's a doctor who gives consistently, and he talks about why he is giving to this National Revolution Tour, and you hear the ways different people can come together through organized networks. And I just, just to explain it a little bit more, we are aiming to build a force that's actually contending throughout society for revolution, for an actual way out, a whole different way to organize society, fundamentally, radically different than this system of capitalism, imperialism, which is possible. But we have to actually contend in a societal, national way, which is part of what we're building up the organized forces for. And even the ways in which that organization gets forged, the fundraising is a key part of that, of people stepping into and taking responsibility for revolution through giving themselves, through raising funds, whether it be the collective revolutionary change jars, whether it be somebody who can have a house party in their home and raise $5,000. This is all the ways people from different strata come together. They see each other. You're able to build up national networks, and it is people taking responsibility for the future.
Well, I think everybody should tune in this Sunday. It's really going to be important. It's going to be on our channel, youtube.com/therevcoms at 3 o'clock Pacific time, 6 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Central. Michelle, I want to give you the chance to tell people if there's any other ways. I know this is a fundraising live stream to raise the money we need right now in an immediate sense, but also to have a deeper transformation of the culture of this movement for revolution so that fundraising is more integral, ongoing. So I wonder if you want to close us out with an invitation and any ideas on that.
Yeah, I mean, this challenge that we have been putting out to people everywhere we're going is we have two choices. We're either going to live with all this, everything we know that this system brings down on people, and we're going to condemn future generations to that or worse if they even have a future at all, or we're going to make revolution. If you're feeling that, and if you're one of these people that's sick and tired of living in a world where where people are treated as less than human, then you got ideas, you have thinking, you can contribute to this, And one of the things, just as an example, is people are beginning to do some of these food sales, and people have a grill that they're offering. People have ideas on cooking some chicken, and then, somebody else wants to make rice and beans, and they want to sell these plates for $10, and go and call their church contacts and go and talk to their neighbors that they actually are not so comfortable talking to, that it's a big deal for some of these people, that they're going to go and tell people, why they're contributing to this fundraising week, and this is something very beginning and very important, where people are being brought together to actually, go to work on raising money for this revolution. But I'll say, like, everybody that's watching, host a watch party this Sunday during the live stream. Call up your friends, call up, your neighbors, your family members, make a salad, make, whatever you know how to make, and just watch this live stream together with people, and have us make the case, and you tell them too why you're hosting people at your home, and why people should donate to that, and this is a way that people can actually spread this and bring people together around this revolution. It's very basic ways, but everybody has ideas. Everybody knows somebody. And again, in whatever level that you're getting into this, you should be, not just this week, but going forward.
All right. Well, listen, I'm so happy that you guys made the time to come talk with us here on the RNL, the Revolution Nothing Less show. Tune in this Sunday, and thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One of the most explosive social contradictions in the world today is the brutal oppression of women by men. 1 in 3 women in the world today will be raped, sexually assaulted, brutalized, or abused in her lifetime. 1 in 3. That is over 1 billion women and girls on the planet today. And this goes on in every country, every culture, every part of the globe, yes, including this one. This is not human nature. And things have not always been this way. But this oppression of women by men is built into every system in society, divided into classes, into exploiters and exploited, oppressors and oppressed. And today, this oppression of women is intensifying with the rise of fanatical fundamentalism and fascism around the world. At the same time that women are increasingly rising up and rebelling against all of this. Ending this oppression, shattering thousands of years of traditions' chains that have bound women, and ending all oppression based on sexual orientation and gender is a cornerstone of the revolution we are making. Today, we want to get into this in 2 ways. First, we're going to share with you a very powerful excerpt from Bob Avakian's 2003 talk, Revolution, Why It's Necessary, Why It's Possible, and What It's All About, where he brings alive very vividly what it's like to be a woman in a, quote, man's world. This is a powerful excerpt that not only stands up today, nearly 20 years later, it stands out for how viscerally Bob Avakian's outrage at this oppression in all of its forms comes through, along with his determination to end it. After this, we'll zero in on one particular dimension of this oppression that Bob Avakian speaks about, which is the increasing assault on women's right to abortion in this country. This is at a very emergency level right now. And we're going to look at this through an interview that I do with somebody who works very closely with the only abortion clinic left in the entire state of Mississippi. I'll introduce that interview after we hear from BA. So with that, let's watch Bob Avakian from his 2003 talk in an excerpt called A World of Rape and Sexual Assault.
And what about the situation of women in this greatest of all countries, having to live in a man's world, that is, a world of male supremacy, a world of rape and sexual assault? Think of this fact. Between 1/4 and 1/3 of all women in the U.S. will be raped or sexually assaulted in their lifetimes. A woman is raped almost every minute in this country. Now, this makes me think of something that the great African-American novelist and writer Richard Wright put into the beginning of one of his books, Big Boy Leaves Home. It's a story also that begins in the rural South. It's a story of some young black boys who go out have a little fun on one day. They go down for a walk by the river. They're having fun with each other the way kids do. They're laughing and playing. They're walking along the edge of the river, and all of a sudden they take a turn in the river, and there's a white woman bathing in the river. And suddenly they're struck with terror because they know, through no fault of their own, and purely by the accident of making that curve in the river, their lives are now in danger. That they could be lynched just for coming upon this white woman in this way. And this same kind of situation exists for women throughout the society. You go shopping. Maybe you have to go at night because you work during the day. You come out of the store. If the lights aren't working in the parking lot, or if you're parked in the wrong place, you have a real fear of being attacked and raped. If you're walking down the street And there's a place there where it's a little bit hidden, where somebody could be hiding. You have a real fear of being attacked and raped. If you go the wrong place at the wrong time, or if you do something that some asshole says means you asked for it, you could be attacked and raped. Now, Elaine Boozler is a comedian. She got at this point in a way of using humor to illustrate a very serious and deadly thing. She told about how, in one of her routines, she told about how she came out of a movie with a male friend of hers, a good friend, and he said, "Oh, it's a beautiful night. Why don't we go for a walk down by the river?" And she said, "Well, maybe it's safe for you, but I don't think I'm going for a walk down by any river. It's late at night, it's dark, and I'm carrying a vagina." Now, this is a way to use humor to make a deadly serious point. And another cold statistic captures a real horror lived by women every day. A woman is battered in the U.S. every 15 seconds. And by far, this is done most often by their boyfriends or husbands, who have been trained and conditioned to view these women not as equal partners, but as something like their property, their possession, and a breeder of their children. For most of the time the United States has existed, and even within the lifetimes of many people still alive today, there were laws in many states in the U.S. which, in terms of the rights of persons, did not include women in the category of persons with these rights. And these laws and the customs that went along with them openly treated women as inferior and subordinate to their husbands and to men in general. As I pointed out in the book, Preaching from a Pulpit of Bones, up until less than 20 years ago, there were still states in the U.S. where there was no such thing as marital rape, where a husband could legally force his wife to have sex with him whether she wanted to or not. And for most of the history of this country, this was a situation for wives in general. And then there is the move, backed and encouraged from the highest offices of the land, to keep cutting back and ultimately to take away from women the right to have an abortion. Upholding and fighting for the right of abortion is a crucial part of fighting for the emancipation of women in the fullest sense. It is a crucial part of freeing women from every form of domination and oppression by men, breaking the chains on half the human race, enabling women to take part fully and equally in every sphere of society, and in the struggle to radically change all of society. Denying women the right to abortion, denying them the right to decide when or if they will have children, with everything that means and all the effects that will have on their lives. Denying this is like battering and rape. Denying the right to abortion is a means of exercising forcible control by a male supremacist society over the very lives of women and over their bodies.
Now we're going to zero in on one particular aspect of this all-around oppression of women, which has only become more extreme in the years since BA gave that talk, which is the fascist, fanatical assault on women's right to abortion. And as BA said, this is an assault on women's very lives and humanity. It's about whether women will be treated as full human beings or reduced to nothing more than property of men and breeders of children. Now, this year alone, there have been record restrictions introduced on abortion across this country. Over 650 restrictions introduced, and many of them passed in 47 states. And we're going to be covering this in episodes going forward, including a very fascist law down in Texas set to go into effect on September 1st that would ban abortion at about 6 weeks, long before most women know they're pregnant. But today we want to talk about Mississippi and a case and a law that was introduced there in 2018. It was a ban that was blatantly unconstitutional. It was passed in the state legislature, and for good legal reason, the courts blocked it from going into effect. But earlier this year, the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, sent shockwaves of fear across this country by agreeing to hear an appeal from the state legislature of Mississippi, asking that this law should go into effect anyhow. Now, this can only mean that the Supreme Court, a court that has been recently packed with 3 more fascist judges by Donald Trump, is agreeing to reconsider whether abortion rights should be further restricted or outright overturned. This is a very, very big case, and for very good reason. People all across the country are watching this, and we need to be watching this. So to get into this today, we want to bring alive what it's already like to get an abortion in this state with only one clinic, and what's at stake if the Supreme Court further restricts this right or overturns it altogether. And we're going to do this by sharing an interview that I did with Derenda Hancock. She is the head clinic defender at the Pink House, the only abortion clinic down in Mississippi, the Jackson Women's Health Organization. I first got to know her over 10 years ago on one of many trips that I've made down to that clinic as part of mobilizing people to stand up to defend this right. She's got a deep dedication to the women who come to that clinic, to the staff and the doctors who serve in it. And I think you'll learn a lot from this interview, so let's watch. We have somebody who's been on the front lines, part of what's called the Pink House Defenders, the clinic escorts and defenders at the only abortion clinic in Mississippi. Derenda Hancock, welcome to the RNL Revolution Nothing Less show.
Thank you, Sunsara. I appreciate you having me.
Listen, first of all, it's really good to see you. It's really good to see that you are still out there on the front lines in Mississippi. And I think it'd be helpful if you talk about, even before the Supreme Court hears this challenge and makes a decision over whether there can be even greater restrictions to abortion access in this country or it can be overturned altogether, abortion rights and access are hanging by a thread across this country. And in fact, in the state of Mississippi, it's one of 5 states with only one abortion clinic in it. I wonder if you could just bring alive for our viewers and listeners, what is it like for a woman in Mississippi who needs to access abortion?
Wow. It's nearly impossible. So for years, the clinic here, Jackson Women's Health Organization, which we refer to as the Pink House, for years, it's been the last clinic since 2006. So 15 years of people driving from all corners of the state, as well as Alabama, Louisiana, Tennessee, surrounding states come to us as well, since access anywhere down here is slim to none. And I guess you noticed I just said driving. A lot of people don't have that privilege here. We have women who've come on a Greyhound bus to get here. We have people drive 4 hours, 5 hours. Mississippi, in case you don't know, I'm sure you do, but a lot of people don't, is the poorest state in the nation. It's actually improved in the last 5 years, but our poverty rate is 19.6%. And just getting to a clinic in your hometown is not always easy, but when you have to drive that far, some women can't make it here. They don't make it here. We have tons of hurdles that you have to jump over just to get here. The 24-hour waiting period. They have to wait a minimum of 24 hours to return to the clinic before they can do either the medical abortion, the pill, or the surgical, I hate that word, but the surgical abortion, the procedure. That's the minimum they have to wait. Let me throw another crank into that box. Our doctors have to fly in from out of state. There are no doctors in the state of Mississippi that will perform abortions. And Mississippi is the only state that requires all abortion providers to be OBGYN board certified. So it's not real easy to find someone to do this. We're incredibly fortunate right now. 4 different doctors rotate out of here and perform abortions, but nonetheless, they all have practices in other states. So we work around their schedule. So the clinic days that we see patients change each week, and it's 2.5 days a week. When you're the only abortion clinic in the state, in the poorest state in the nation, and you have to obtain child care before you come here, 60% of women who have an abortion are already mothers. When you have to take off work from your job, not once, but twice. When you have to find a way to get here, if you don't have the means to travel here, all of these hurdles are in front of you before you pull up to the clinic and see what else you have to face standing on the sidewalk.
So they arrive at the Pink House.
So I'm going to go ahead and tell you ahead of time. Anti-choice protesters are all over the sidewalk. We constantly refer to them as antis. So that's who I'm talking about when I say that the next 500 times. Antis will be lined up and down the sidewalk. There are days we have 5 or 6. There are days we have 50. And the rare occasions, about once a month, we do see patients at the clinic on a Saturday. Saturdays have been up to 165 people before. A lot of patients have already had a really tough time coming to this decision in the first place. And then when they roll up on the sidewalk and see that, it's horrifying. So patients are constantly tricked into stopping for them. They hand them propaganda and they try to get them to go across the street, which is directly across the street, to this crisis pregnancy center, which are the fake clinics, as you know, that are everywhere. There's about 10 or 12 of those to every single abortion clinic in the nation. So patients are just waylaid from the time they turn the corner, trying to get half a block to our parking lot to the actual safety net before they go into the clinic.
What is the larger worldview? What are the larger motivations of some of the people who make it their life's work to harass women and abortion providers outside the Pink House and other abortion facilities?
Exactly. Well, abortion is just a small part of this. That's truly not their main goal. Obviously, their main goal is control, particularly of women and, of course, everyone else. It's all religiously motivated. We actually have them on video saying their goal is to make this a theocracy. Yeah, it's about white supremacy. It's about controlling, and it's about really keeping people in their place, not just women, but minorities, people of color. Obviously, they're completely anti-LGBTQ. Yeah, it's all a control mechanism. And these people on the sidewalks, things that a lot of people don't realize, they have control in the legislatures. Mm-hmm. They are supporting these candidates that are not only, trying to abolish abortion, they're also putting people into the seats that do not want the separation of church and state.
What will it look like if the Supreme Court does overturn or significantly undermine Roe v. Wade and allow this ban to go into place? What will this look like for the women in Mississippi and for the women across the country?
If they win this case and, the process begins and Roe is overturned, abortion will be illegal in the state of Mississippi. 11 states will follow quickly behind that. There will only be like 13 safe states if this happens. And, the closest place that women can go from here, if we're lucky, would be Georgia. If not, Colorado or Illinois. And people can barely afford to get from North Mississippi to Jackson. How in the hell are they going to get to Illinois? So it's the beginning of the end if it happens here.
I see you're carrying the emotion of what that means. Do you want to?
I try not to, but.
Well, we have to. And I just wonder if you want to share what you're feeling.
This is not, it's a personal thing, but this is not a personal thing for me. I'm quite past my childbearing years, which I never wanted any anyway. But, this is about This is about the women that I see every day. Some of my defenders are at the Pink House, volunteer defenders at the Pink House are 20-year-olds, 25. And to think about the fact that, they could live in a world where they have no choice, where they're going to literally be turned into a handmaid. It devastates me. And I know that, we're going to try to keep fighting and come up with alternatives. How do we get people to other states? But what I don't think anyone understands is once they do abolish abortion in the 37 states or whatever, do those other 13 states really think they're safe? Because they're going for them next, okay? I mean, these people have power. They have people in the Senates and in Congress, and not just on a state level, on a national level. They're going after everyone.
Well, Derenda, I want to say all over the world, first of all, your warning is 100% well sounded. It is reality based, and people need to hear it. And this is the lives of women. It is the lives of half of humanity. And it is about enslaving women. That's what this movement, the anti-abortion movement, has always been about. It's not about babies. It's not about life. It is about enslaving women and installing the overall fascist theocracy that you've been speaking to so well. So I want to thank you for sounding the alarm and not watering it down. It's important. I want to say all over the world, there have been outpourings a fury of women standing up against the restrictions on abortion, demanding legalization of abortion, demanding that women be treated as full human beings, not incubators. And there is a tremendous need for people to rise to that challenge in this country at this time. And from our perspective here on the Revolution Nothing Less show, to fuse that with a deeper look at the nature of the system that we live under, that has legitimized this kind of violent hatred of women in the halls of power, and the need for an actual revolution, an emancipating revolution to sweep this system into the dustbin of history. So that's a big order, and that's what we're working on here. And so I want to express my appreciation and my love.
Thank you, Sunsara. I appreciate you having me here, and it's been great. And I appreciate your fight. Keep doing it, and we'll try to continue to work together.
So that concludes the 61st episode of the RNL Revolution Nothing Less show. Before we end, I want to once again repeat two important things for you to watch. First of all, the live stream fundraising for the Get Organized for an Actual Revolution tour on Sunday. And then, very important, to go on revcom.us and get a copy and read from Bob Avakian, revolutionary leader, author of the new Communism. This is a rare time when revolution becomes possible, why that is so, and how to seize on this rare opportunity. So good night from myself and Sunsara Taylor. We'll see you next Thursday night, 5 p.m. Pacific time.